Oh my goodness. Ben Affleck has had enough of keeping quiet and is exposing the real reason behind his divorce from Jennifer Garner, and it's none other than Blake Lively. That's right, after years of speculation and rumors, Ben is finally coming clean about how Blake swooped in during The Town filming and completely wrecked his marriage to America's sweetheart, Jen Garner. But exactly what went down on that movie set? How did Jennifer Garner figure it all out? And why is Ben only speaking out now after all these years? Let's find out. Ben Affleck has finally admitted that his marriage to Jennifer Garner started falling apart when he cast Blake Lively in The Town back in 2010. This wasn't just some random casting choice. Blake had to fight hard to get this role, and now we know why she wanted it so badly. According to insiders, Blake auditioned multiple times for the role of Krista Coughlin, and the producers still weren't convinced, as she herself once revealed.
Yeah, I really had to fight for the role. She's written to be a 37-year-old Oxycontin-addicted mother living in Charlestown, Boston. So it was very different than anything I had ever done, and I was 21. I'm sure everybody that read it connected to it emotionally because it was written so beautifully, and you could understand why she made the terrible decisions that she makes, the pain that she feels. And, you know, I just thought I really want to portray this woman. Yeah. And so I fought really hard to get an audition because I was so wrong for it. They didn't want to see me. And I took a train out there. I auditioned with him for 10 minutes and then took a train right back. It was like 10 hours worth of travel for 10 minutes. But when I finished my audition, he said, "What part of Boston are you from?" And I said, "Oh, that's the best saying you could ever say to me." I didn't even know parts of Boston, so I didn't even know what to make up. But then after that, I had to read with him again because it was still a stretch, you know. Yeah. It was a 21-year-old girl and they're reading for it. But he did change it and adapt it, make it a little younger so that I could play this part. And when I auditioned the second time, I read with him and a few other actors, and it was an exhausting thought.
But here's where it gets crazy. Ben pushed for her to get the part against the producer's better judgment. Why would an established director and actor go against his team's recommendations for a relatively unproven actress? The answer is becoming crystal clear now, is all I'm saying. Sources close to Ben reveal that Blake turned on the charm hard during those auditions. One insider noted that their chemistry was immediate and obvious to everyone in the room. At one point, we felt like they really needed to get a room. They were all over each other. At the time, Ben and Jennifer Garner were supposed to be happily married with 3 kids, and their 5th wedding anniversary was right around the corner. But behind the scenes, the foundation was already cracking, and Blake's arrival was like taking a wrecking ball to whatever stability they had. Ben has reportedly admitted that he was instantly drawn to Blake's energy, ambition, and the way she seemingly hung on his every word. She made him feel like the most important person in the room, a feeling he later confessed was missing from his marriage at that point. Now, Jennifer Garner wasn't born yesterday. The minute Ben cast 23-year-old Blake Lively as his love interest while he was directing and starring in the film, her alarm bells started ringing. And can you blame her? Ben was 38 at the time, 15 years older than Blake, and he was suddenly adding more intimate scenes to the script. According to sources close to Jennifer, she initially tried to play it cool. She visited the set a few times with their children, making her presence known. But what she saw there only confirmed her worst fears because the way Ben and Blake looked at each other was anything but professional. And the most heartbreaking part, Jennifer was trying so hard to keep their family together while Blake was allegedly making moves on her husband. One source revealed that Jennifer would find random excuses to call Ben during filming, only to have him cut the call short, claiming he was in the middle of a scene. But the real smoking gun came when Jennifer picked up Ben's phone one day and saw text messages from Blake that were definitely not about character development. According to insiders, Jennifer confronted Ben, but he denied any impropriety. He told Jen that him and Blake were just getting into character and that she had nothing to worry about. And as filming progressed, so did their marital problems.
She's a fabulous, as you can see, she's a gorgeous young woman.
Jennifer reportedly told friends that Ben was becoming increasingly distant, constantly talking about Blake's brilliant take on scenes or Blake's unique perspective on the character. The tension then reached a breaking point when Jennifer showed up unannounced to the set one day and found Ben and Blake in a corner having what appeared to be an intensely personal conversation that stopped abruptly when they noticed her. The discomfort was palpable, and according to a crew member who witnessed the scene, Jennifer ended up bursting into tears and leaving immediately. And if the filming wasn't bad enough, the press tour for The Town was Jennifer Garner's worst nightmare come true. Ben and Blake's chemistry was so obvious that even interviewers took notice. They were constantly giving each other these knowing looks, finishing each other's sentences, and laughing at inside jokes nobody else understood. And what made matters worse was the timing. Right around this same period, Blake suddenly broke up with her long-term boyfriend Penn Badgley after years together on Gossip Girl. Coincidence? Jennifer certainly didn't think so. The press coverage was relentless, with photos of Ben and Blake looking cozy at premieres and press junkets splashed across magazines. And even though they weren't officially together, their body language told a very different story. Industry insiders noted how Ben seemed more alive and animated with Blake than he had in years with Jennifer. Now, Jennifer did try to maintain her dignity throughout this humiliating period, but friends say she was crumbling inside. She would put on a brave face for public appearances, but at home? The arguments with Ben were getting more frequent and a lot more intense. According to one close friend, Jennifer directly asked Ben if he was having an affair with Blake. And while he denied a physical relationship, he couldn't deny their emotional connection. That admission alone was devastating for Jennifer, who realized she was losing her husband emotionally, if not physically. But what makes this story even more twisted is the ironic parallel to how Ben and Jennifer's relationship started in the first place. Back in 2003, Ben was engaged to Jennifer Lopez with this famous $2.5 million pink diamond ring when he met Jennifer Garner on the set of Daredevil. Within months of filming together, Ben broke off his engagement to J.Lo and started dating Jennifer Garner. Guys, the timeline was suspicious then, and now history was repeating itself with Blake. Or as one source put it, Ben isn't the type of person to let his wife get in the way of finding his wife, if you know what I mean. How you get him is how you lose him, right? Jennifer Garner was now experiencing the same pain she may have inadvertently caused Jennifer Lopez years earlier. Ben reportedly acknowledged this painful irony in a private conversation with a friend, admitting that he seemed to have a pattern of falling for his co-stars while already in committed relationships. This self-awareness, however, didn't stop the damage being done to his marriage, but the biggest confirmation that something serious happened between Ben and Blake came years later, in 2014, when Ben was offered a movie with Ryan Reynolds. This could have been a massive opportunity for Ben's career, but guess what? Jennifer Garner absolutely forbid him from taking the role. Why? Because she knew she'd have to interact with Blake Lively, who by this time was already married to Ryan Reynolds, at events. As one source revealed, she knew she'd have to interact with Blake Lively again, which was another confirmation to the public that Ben Affleck and Blake Lively were linked together in an affair. Think about that for a second. Jennifer was so traumatized by whatever happened between Ben and Blake that years later, she couldn't even bear the thought of being in the same room as her. That's the reaction of someone who was deeply hurt. Ben reportedly argued intensely about this missed opportunity, but ultimately respected Jennifer's wishes, which insiders say was his way of acknowledging the pain he'd caused her through his relationship with Blake. And while Blake eventually moved on to Leonardo DiCaprio and then Ryan Reynolds, the damage to Ben and Jennifer's marriage was irreparable. The trust was broken, and Ben spiraled into more destructive behavior, which included drinking heavily, gambling, and eventually having that infamous affair with their children's nanny. That was the final nail in the coffin. Their divorce was finalized in 2018, but sources say the real breaking point came years earlier during The Town filming, and that very thing that followed, including the nanny scandal, was just the aftermath of a marriage that was fundamentally broken by Ben's infatuation with Blake. What's particularly telling is that even now, years later, Jennifer Garner still avoids any situation where she might have to interact with Blake. When Jennifer worked with Ryan Reynolds on The Adam Project and later reprised her role as Elektra in Deadpool and Wolverine, people noticed she never did any press or appearances with Blake. The most shocking part of Ben's revelation is how it exposes Blake Lively's pattern of behavior. This wasn't just a one-time thing, it's apparently her MO. Just months after The Town wrapped, Blake was cast opposite Ryan Reynolds in Green Lantern, where while Ryan was still married to Scarlett Johansson, and wouldn't you know it, history repeated itself almost exactly. Crew members from Green Lantern reported that Ryan and Blake were getting suspiciously cozy on set. One insider even said Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were leaving their trailers to go get a hotel room and stay together while filming. The parallels are eerie. Scarlett didn't even attend the Green Lantern premiere. And just 1 month later, Ryan and Scarlett announced their divorce. Shortly after, guess who became Hollywood's newest IT couple? That's right, Ryan and Blake. This establishes a clear pattern. Blake appears to have a history of getting involved with her married or committed co-stars and somehow emerging with her America's sweetheart image intact, while the women she hurt have to pick up the pieces. But Ben isn't the only one who's had issues with Blake on set. Multiple former co-stars have shared stories about her difficult behavior and need for control. Armie Hammer, who briefly appeared on Gossip Girl as Blake's love interest, had this to say when asked who was the biggest diva on set.
Let me just say that was a tough show to film, and I didn't end up actually filming all of the episodes I was supposed to.
When the interviewer pressed about whose love interest he played, he replied,
Whose love interest were you?
I was Blake Lively's love interest.
You were?
Then Chelsea Handler, who was standing right next to Armie, said what everyone was thinking.
Okay, well then.
Sounds like she was the problem.
It sure does, Chelsea.
Even more damning is the testimony from someone who worked on Gossip Girl for all 6 seasons. Rosella Rigo, who worked as a stand-in, described Blake as, and I quote, horrendous to work with. She elaborated with some shocking details. She would like burp and fart like in the middle of setting and act like we were all so lucky to be smelling her farts. Yikes. Blake's co-star from Gossip Girl, Leighton Meester, also had such strained relations with her that they reportedly avoided each other on set whenever possible. Sources confirmed these two aren't swapping friendship bracelets. They're dodging each other like it's a sport. The tension was so bad that Blake didn't even get an invite for Leighton and Adam Brody's wedding. Ben Affleck's decision to finally come clean about Blake's role in his divorce comes at a particularly sensitive time, as Blake is already dealing with the fallout from her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni. Many believe Ben was inspired to speak out after seeing Baldoni stand up to Blake's controlling behavior. Jennifer Garner, meanwhile, has rebuilt her life and seems to be thriving. She's in a long-term relationship with businessman John Miller, remains dedicated to her children, and has revitalized her acting career. Her dignified silence through all these years has only increased public sympathy for her. Blake, on the other hand, is facing a serious reputation crisis. Between the Justin Baldoni lawsuit and now Ben's revelations, her carefully crafted image as America's sweetheart is crumbling rapidly. The pattern of behavior exposed by multiple sources suggests that the sweet girl next door persona was always just a carefully constructed facade. So there you have it. The bombshell revelation from Ben Affleck about how Blake Lively was the real catalyst behind his divorce from Jennifer Garner. From the suspicious casting to the on-set chemistry to Jennifer banning Ben from working with Ryan Reynolds, the evidence points to a Hollywood homewrecker who's finally being exposed. What do you think about Ben's revelations? Are you Team Jennifer or Team Blake? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more Hollywood tea. This drama is far from over, and we'll be here with all the updates as they come.